And that's what it means for U.S. women's national team too, right? The standard is there. And Emma Hayes bringing these players into camp is so they can learn this is the standard required for U.S. women's national team. This is the banner that has been set by, legends before you. And now you have to follow that same path. Hello, welcome back to NWSL United. This is episode 3. We're going to be talking to some U.S. women's national team stars as it was full of NWSL players. We're going to talk about the match ball, some transfer news, some transfer rumors, and of course, finish at the end with our 4 club profiles. Once again, I'm joined by my wonderful friend and co-host, Alyssa. How are you, Alyssa?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day in San Diego. Sorry to everyone else who has negative weather, but our day is supposed to be like 83 degrees today. So I'm just enjoying winter in Southern California.
You've even got Florida beat. Like, what's up with that? Like, it's cold
just
here.
just the best city in the world. I don't know what to tell you.
The U.S. women's national team as well has been enjoying that California weather, right? And a little bit of a tour as the January camps have go on. And it's all been, NWSL stars. Of course, Emily Sams is the one that I'm going to pick out straight off the bat because, hey, look, everyone's saying how good she is. I don't want to hear this is just because she moved to Angel City because she was this good before. She's just getting some time in the sunlight finally. What are your initial takeaways, Alyssa, from these January games? We thumped Chile and we thumped Paraguay as expected. And like, who are the winners and losers of this camp?
You love to see it, right? Like a 6-0. Sorry, Paraguay, but man, for me, feels good. We're only a handful of years out of the Vlatko era where it felt like we scored no goals and the team was not very diverse. And now, this past camp, I mean, what a great group of diverse talent. Great group getting a bunch of like first caps, first goals. Let's look at Emily Sams, that goal in the third game or second game. How many games were there? 2?
2 games, yeah.
Oh,
And you're
man.
like, how many goals did we see?
How many goals are yeah, it's so many goals, I expected it to be 3 games. But, I mean, Emily Sam's just in there, in the soup. That's what we like to call it when you're in,
I
like,
like
right in
that.
that goal that right in front of the goal area. We call it you're in the soup, you're in the sauce. And, I mean, just with such control and speed and force. So I get the shout out to Captain Emily Sams, you know? I think it
Yeah,
was nice
captain
to
as well.
see youth. It was nice to see representation from so many teams. I thought the second game was such an interesting mix of players. Like, I think half the Spirit Squadron was out there. Um, and that was, I mean, they could have brought Tara McKeown on and then really made it like a 4 or 5 players from the Spirit. But
I
you
mean, they
really
did
see
bring
those,
Tara McKeown on. You're right.
yeah, it's like we're seeing those club connections and how much that also informs, like, a starting lineup, and I don't know, I don't think anyone's guaranteed actually, that's not true, I think Emily Sonnet's guaranteed for the World Cup if as long as her legs don't explode. Emily Sonnet, so, like, silly but also serious, like, about soccer, it's very funny, but I feel like everything else, if everyone's equally as healthy, it could be a really interesting mix of who's going to Brazil for the World Cup. So I thought this camp showed us that we have a deep roster of caps that give Emma Hayes so many opportunities. And obviously, I want to shout out Captain Trin because, I mean, what a week. What a time to be Trinity Rodman, the highest played football player in women's game. And then, just killing it off of that and then gets a goal and then is back and is captain. I mean, it's so great to see. I love it.
Queen Trin, right? Long may she reign, queen of the
Oh,
national
yeah.
team. She's doing what do they call that? I forgot what they call it,
It's
but
the sexy Dexy.
I shouldn't do it. I'm too old for all of these references. But I did like the fact that she got Emma Hayes involved. That was kind of fun. That was an
Mhm.
enjoyable. That is like That's what the U.S. Women's National Team social team like, "Oh, yeah, let us eat that up. We can put that
They
all over
said,
the
"Thank you so much,
interwebs." That's
Zoom."
gone global and, viral in minutes,
Yes.
right? But yeah, overall, in terms of the players, great to see all the NWSL stars out there. Of course, this is a camp that, it, it's a January camp where all of the players that don't play in NWSL or play in Europe are just not going to get called in. They're busy with their middle of their seasons. NWSL players are in preseason, so we're going to see a lot of rotation. No one's going to play 90 minutes. Again, we're playing Chile and Paraguay. It plays, a little bit of practice games here, right? You don't want to say it, but it feels a little bit easy, and it's a good opportunity to get minutes for lots of NWSL players. And we see this continuation from Emma Hayes, where she wants to give lots of opportunities to lots of players because she's right about this. When we get to these big tournaments like the World Cup and the Olympics, you just don't know who's going to be available, right? Like who's going to be on maternity leave, who's going to be long term SEI. So the wider range of player pool that you can pull from and the more experience those players have, the better off you are. And this was a great opportunity. I mean, I've been calling for the likes of Emily Sams, et cetera, like maybe like your Claire Huttons, right? Your Emma
Mhm.
Sears, like these kind of players that are on the fringe of the women's national team to get more minutes. And this is the kind of opportunity here in this camp where they are able to get a lot more minutes. So I think that was great to see, but the games, there's not really much competition. It's just completely one sided. It's all U.S. Women's National Team go go go. Right? There's not much. The goalkeepers aren't tested, so I think we have to remember that these are easier friendlies for them.
Okay, but I do want to shout out to Ryan Torrero, the Chilean goalkeeper, who I think did a really good job in the face of an onslaught from a very young, very agile women's national team. I thought she looked really good in goal, was not afraid of our attackers. We were really going for it. I mean, Emma Sears versus goalpost, you know, just I think did a really outstanding job. I think Chile put up a really good fight in terms of goal defending. And I want to give them their kudos where it stands. Now, would I like to be playing some of, the people that we might be playing at the World Cup? Yeah, it would be really great to see a couple more friendlies from, like England, see what they're doing, see what that looks like. But um
I think in this
I was
January
really
camp,
impressed.
it's
I
always
was
going to
impressed with
be
Torero.
this kind of opponent, right? Because like England
Yeah,
and say with Germany,
of
they're all
course.
busy. The European calendar for this camp, so it makes sense that we play South American opponents.
Of
Are there
course.
any other kind of takeaways you had from this, women's national team camp? Really, it was a showcase of NWSL players. So, which ones of those really? We mentioned a few names, but any others that stood out to you?
Ayo. Ayo okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Looked
Yeah, okay,
amazing. Jamise Joseph looked really great.
great shout for Chicago.
Oh, yeah, I mean, especially when you look at, like, Chicago's struggling right now, like, just sort of the reality of what the Stars are going through. Still not used to calling them just the Stars, and everyone's an FC now. But yeah, it was really just to see her have the kind of, like, build-up support that Joseph deserves and just really, really great work that made it feel I don't know, it felt like the Olympics again, that sort of, like, excitement and watching the team play and work together. It just felt really energized, it felt really, um, like, driven. I think there was a little bit of chaos, and Corey Bethune sort of mentioned that. I think that comes with having, like, fewer caps. I'm sure there's an adrenaline rush. I can't even imagine getting your first cap for the US national team. But I'm excited to see more players get more caps. I know this next year, Hayes is looking to tighten it up. She said I think she believes they're gonna start seeing, like, the World Cup squad of, like, consistently having them called up together. So I don't know. I think it's a really interesting mix, and especially when you only pull from, like, NWSL, like Claudia Dickey. I mean, what did she do all camp? You know what I mean? Like, other than finesse some, like, goalkeeper stuff, but, like, she wasn't very busy in goal. I feel like this was really, an attacking midfielder and forwards camp in getting that confidence and, like, that work together. I don't know, it just felt really exciting. It felt like, man, if we couldn't pull Valentil's Joyce, right? If we couldn't get the octopus in goal, if we couldn't get Kat Macari or Naomi Girma, it felt like we would still have a fighting chance, and that's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, the US women's national team, I mean, and this is the thing for me, Alyssa, is like I'm not used to like I support underdog teams. So when I support US women's national team, I always have to reshape my mindset from like,
Yeah.
oh, like we're scrappy to like, no, we are the big dog and we should even with our, our other options from NWSL, right? And without perhaps the European stars available, we
Mhm.
should still beat down on teams like this because the level of the US women's national team, and the pool of players that we have to pull from is so large and so top quality that, yeah, you can have a complete roster of NWSL players and still be one of the best teams in the world, even without these European, let's say sprinkles on top, right? So,
Mhm.
I think that's the thing with U.S. women's national team. We have to always look at it from that frame of mind of like the expectation is to always win, to always be the best. And sometimes for me as an underdog fan, like Orlando Pride and Orlando
They've
City,
beaten
and
you down in hometown.
yeah, I'm like a Stoke fan as well. So we're not very good there. So
So sorry.
there's a lot of for me, I have to change my mindset into that, and that's what it means for U.S. women's national team too, right? The standard is there, and Emma Hayes bringing these players into camp is so they can learn this is the standard required for U.S. women's national team. This is the banner that has been set by legends before you, and now you have to follow that same path. And there's so many players that are on that path, right? That weren't here today, but there's more that like Emily Sams and your Emma Sears and your future players like Dickey. Definitely, how can they contribute to become stars themselves through NWSL through that pathway? So very exciting
Yeah.
camp, lots going on, lots of goals, lots learned about the attacking players. So that's exciting. Okay, let's move on and talk about the ball, the NWSL ball.
The KT tape ball.
Listen, I was gonna crack a joke, but you got there before me.
So sorry.
One of the top comments I saw online was literally that you slapped KT tape on it.
Yeah, it
Um,
has a shoulder injury.
it
It's
has a poor
recovering.
the ball has taken an L. It's SEI already. The beginning of the
No.
season.
It blew
Uh,
blew its
I
ACL.
know we're all joking, but
No.
if you haven't seen, just go look at a picture of the ball,
Look at
and
it.
then you'll know exactly what we're talking about. Alyssa, what are your on a scale of 0 to 10, how do you rate the end of SL ball?
I mean, it's a ball, so, like, it does the job. So I think automatically it gets a 5, right? Because it does the job of a ball. Design-wise, though, I don't it feels like an asterisk also, which I don't know, it just, like, doesn't make any sense. It's I don't know, like, I'm really curious about, like, who's designing the game ball and, like, what they're pulling from. So, if you're the game ball designer, if you could just comment below and let us know, but I just, like they didn't do it was just a photo. They were just like, "Here it is," and I get trying to, like, hype people up about different aspects of the game, but, like, you could at least try and sell me a story. You could try and be like, "This is the 5 points of connection of the NWSL," like, fabricate a little something, but it's just an asterisk, it's a KT tape. Like, it also feels like a dial star for help. Like, I don't know, it just isn't, "Are you okay?" You know? I don't know.
It's definitely not like a very attractive design. It's not
I'm not
really.
excited
It
about it
doesn't
either.
pop
I'm like,
out. It's just a lot of questions as why this shape. Maybe it's like reflective of some of the internal mechanisms of the balls. Like I don't
"Mm,
know if Nike are doing
sure."
anything radically different. It looks like a regular, shaped ball to me, but
It's like a ball.
not the greatest design. The pattern, like everyone says, it looks like it's wearing tape. It looks like it's pulled an ACL. It's not the best match ball, but There we go. It's out. That's the thing. Of course, as we get closer to the season, we get more of these things happening. We're gonna have jerseys coming out soon, so me and Alyssa are gonna do a really fun episode where we rank all the jerseys when those come out.
I don't
So
think you're ready for those
a little bit
opinions.
of fashion. But the NWSL ball, I think is a pass for me. I don't think I'll be buying that one
I mean, you're supposed to be
anytime
passing
soon.
the ball, so I guess that is.
It's a ball that I don't want to pass. How about that? All righty. And now we're going to talk a little bit with Alyssa about some things that she's got going on with a supporter union conference. Alyssa, take it away.
Yeah. So if you follow me online, you sort of know I'm a bit of a menace. And I'm fine with that. In my day job, on top of covering the NWSL, I work as an advocate, full time. So in that fashion, with all of the transphobia going on in the league, and I mean, if we're being honest, like in the general world right now and everything going on, I had reached out to our commissioner, Jessica Berman, and shared my thoughts about the statement that they put out a couple months ago. So they were talking about how they were working internally on a player safety rule because a bigot decided to go and be like, we need to save women's sports, and then was being a transphobe. Um, so all of that sort of the background. And Jessica Berman sent me a copy paste message that she sent to several other people who had reached out to her. And I said, hey, listen, I'm non binary, I'm genderqueer. I work in mental health advocacy. I've been doing this for a long time, over 10 years now. And I said, soccer is for everyone, as I'm sure you agree. And to hear you express that you're taking time to handle this situation in terms of like TGI issues as they face sports, and especially in, I mean, let's not forget that like Barbara Banda has been harassed, um, like constantly at a Gotham game. People had to be kicked out because they were harassing her. People have been saying a lot of out of pocket stuff in the WSL as well. Lots of racism and bigotry and misogynoir, which is sexism directly about like Black women and Black bodies. So I said, hey, we need to do something about this. What are you doing? They said, thanks so much for reaching out and sharing your background and important work you're doing with Trans Family Support Services, which is a nonprofit that serves nationwide that does trans support for anyone 0 and up. They do like youth programming, all their resources are free, insurance navigation, document stuff, basically like a little promo for TFSS, but they're really great. I love working with them. We just packed up a bunch of care packages for trans youth to distribute with the Allied Coalition. Like it's, it's for real. So Jessica Berman says, we appreciate all the information. We'll keep it on hand, which is basically the corporate way of thumbs up. So that was in November. And I said, it's January. How long are you going to take to write a policy? So I reached out again. I said, hi, Commissioner Berman. It's been over a month since we last spoke, and I was looking for an update. You've not released anything since your statement in November of 2025. The league has not disclosed people that they claim to be in partnership with or organizations that they're in partnership with in building policies around this topic. And you told me you were taking time to work with leaders in the TGI space. And not to toot my own horn, but I work with and know a lot of people in the TGI space, which is like trans, gender, queer, and intersex. So, like, it's important to me, but it's also important for me to hold you accountable. Who are you working with? Who are these people? Why is it all behind doors? Why are we being so sneaky? Anyway, and I said, supporter groups are out here fighting for trans rights. This past season, um, it was, trans people belong. They did a nonprofit fundraiser in San Diego for trans family. There were shirts across the league, and the supporter groups have really been carrying a lot of that weight, which I love. I love the supporter groups in the NWSL. I think the culture is really amazing. I mean, I'll talk a lot of crap about Portland and the other teams, but it's like, the Thorns Player Association, Rose City, and same with Kansas City, the Blue Crew. I mean, they're really doing the work out there to lead the league in terms of social issues. And I said that, like they're deeply committed to make this league equitable. And this is something I'd like to think that the league would be supported, yet your silence regarding this is very loud. And this time, Commissioner Berman did not respond to me, but her director of communications, Jennifer, and said, we'll be speaking with the NWSL supporter groups at ISC, which is they had a conference. So that was last weekend. They also shared that they're working with Chris Mosier to guide that. And I guess here are my thoughts. I'd love if anyone who is at the supporter groups conference could come and talk to us about what they heard. Um, it was Jennifer kept it very hush hush. I repeated my information, my advocacy, and all of that because I want to be a tool. Um, and I think people talk about this all the time, and it's like, gosh, just cut us a check and we would make this better. Like the fans and people in this league love it so much. Like just pay the people to make it better. And this is something you could sort of see in sort of fan relations, supporter group relations, et cetera, et cetera. But I would love to know from the people who went to the conference what they say because Jennifer's not responded to my next email, which is fine. That's their prerogative. I'll just be more annoying. But I'd love to know. I'd love to know what they covered, what updates they provided, any details, or is it the same thing you're getting that I'm getting? Is it the same, oh, we're working on it and, stop asking. Um, yeah, I'd really love to know. I think there's a lot of supporter groups that could have been in attendance. So if anyone wants to share, that would be really cool because I would love to know. And if anyone wanted to come and chat about it, that would be great.
I
So
think
those
it's
are
a
my
really
updates. We
I
should
think
bother
it's
Jessica Berman about transphobia.
I think it's a really important issue. That's obviously, like you said, I mean, every single game I think I see in the crowd, somebody like 2 or 3 flags that are,
Yeah.
protects trans kids or, in that vein of, support of that community, and it's definitely one that has been, of course, eh, media and all kinds of terrible things been said about this community that is really not a problem at all. And so I think that is a good place in NWSL for us to stand up for the rights of that community. I completely agree. And, what you said on Barbara Band, I've firsthand seen, and, all of the stuff online that she gets a ridiculousness here and there about, we're not going to go into it, but it's just the amount of hate that one player who's brought me so much joy, and you see other people wanting to bring them down. I just think it's so sad because she's such a wonderful person and she doesn't deserve that. And I think that we need to protect our athletes, and so I think it's important. And I advocate anyone, like we said, anyone who was at that meeting and wants to come talk to Alyssa, give us some information about what happened. We'd love to hear from you. If you're part of a supporter group of any of the clubs and you want to come on the podcast and just talk about your team or just talk about your supporter group, we'd love to have you on. Let us know. You're always welcome to join us. It's called NWSL United for a reason. We are always welcome, and our doors are open to all of you. So please come see us. All right, let's talk about a new signing for San Diego Wave. They have signed Colombian goalkeeper Luisa Aguadelo. All right, Alyssa, talk to me. Are we excited? A new goalkeeper in town? I mean, we did our San Diego Way preview, but this is another player you guys have added. How we feeling?
Yeah, oh gosh, I'm so, right. So I'm so used to Kaylin Sheridan. And so I think I just have to, I'm excited because she's so young. She's so talented. And like everyone is sort of like, was a little like, who's going to take that international spot? Who's going to take that spot? And I think this is going to really give Didi Hadicic, I think, sort of like a run for her money of who gets to be starting goalie. I think this will be really interesting. I think she can probably book it faster into the goal to defend against fast forwards probably better than other goalies we've had. So I'm just really interested to see how she fits in. It's always exciting when people join in the preseason rather than like the mid-season transfer window because they just have so much more time to build connections and like relationships and learn how Jonas wants the team to look. Um, I'm also excited because it's sort of like this is the only version of the team she's ever known. So there's not like, I don't know, these sort of expectations of like, oh, this is what it was like last season. She's just coming in and like, this is the club. This is how she's known it. This is how we're doing it. And I'm really excited to see what happens in goal. Who's going to start, Didi or, Luisa? Who is it going to be? I don't know. I don't know. But I like having options.
You got two good goalkeeper options there.
Two solid goalkeepers.
I mean, I think the international experience of Colombia, does that tip it in her favor? Usually when you're bringing in a goalkeeper like this, that might be like, the thing that says, okay, well, we're bringing in someone a bit more experienced. They're usually the one that's given the nod in the goalkeeper position. So I could see it being her. But yeah, I mean, exciting times. You got a new like you had the same goalkeeper for so long, so it's gonna
So
I always
long.
think that's strange whenever like you have that like goalkeeper for a long period of time with your soccer team, and then eventually they change and it just feels different because it's such a player that's constantly there, like almost in every lineup. So how are you going to
And
feel
we lost our
watching
captain.
a different, right, is your captain as well? How are you going to feel when watching a new goalkeeper in net for San Diego?
I don't know. And I don't know who's going to be captain. I think it might be a midfielder, if I'm being for real, thinking about how Jonas has been coaching the team. But
Yeah.
yeah, Keelan Sheridan was not just our goalkeeper, but she was like the leader of the team, the face of San Diego for, since we brought her over. I know she played for other teams, but I don't know who they are. Anyway, and so it's going to be weird. But then also when we play North Carolina at home, that's going to be crazy. I'm going to be like, you're on the wrong side. Come back. No, no, no.
You're like, no,
Um,
no, no, don't make the save against us.
yeah, yeah, I think something interesting about San Diego though is the fandom. Like our fans are really attached to if you've ever been a Wave player. And and so like when Jane Shaw comes to visit, like she'll still go sign things at the like for the Sirens. And I think there's something you don't see that with a lot of teams. Usually it's like you leave, we hate you. But I
Mhm.
feel like San Diego's just so happy to see people again. We're like, hey, welcome back. So I am excited to see Kaylin Sheridan in terms of like fan reception because she was really a part of this community, but I'm not ready to see her in goal for North Carolina at all.
Um, do you have a phrase for when they come back, like the Wave players? Is there like a thing where it's like, oh, like I have for Orlando City whenever they leave, where like we post "Forever a Lion."
Hmm.
So like it's like
No, I think it's a lot about impact. A lot of the language around, I think, sort of like the Wave organization is about like, oh, they made an impact. They made
okay,
a
yeah, 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 yeah.
something about like how they impacted. They
I
use that
like
a lot.
that.
So I think, yeah, they like, it's like impact player of the game.
Wave
I like
alumni,
them. Yeah,
right?
there's just something about, yeah, that I think it's just really welcoming. And, I know other players have gone, but I'm pretty sure that if like Emily Sonnet and Roosevelt went to Seattle, that the fans aren't like, oh my gosh, you guys are back. They're like, "Arr, you left us. Whereas like as soon as the game is over and that player comes over, everyone's just like, oh, it's so good to see you. How are you doing? Like they're besties.
Speaking of players who are going to come over to some games soon because they're retired, Crystal Dunn is no longer on the field. She has finally hung up her boots. I saw some discussions around the what is the legacy that Crystal Dunn has left here at NWSL. I think a very big one. What do you think, Alyssa?
I think the league did not know ever how to market how amazing Crystal Dunn is. And that I remember the first moment I saw her return after being on maternity leave, scoring against the Wave in the final seconds of a game and just being like, whoa, she is different, right? Like, and that was on her return tour. And it just like an amazing player to watch, so smart. You could put her anywhere and I feel like she would thrive. Just like an integral part, I think, for me as like a player pillar for the league. And I'm really sad that she's retiring. It feels it's been a hard, I think, last year of retirements. And this one really bummed me out because I felt like she had at least a couple more years of really good play in her.
Yeah, like, I feel like what is she, 33?
Mhm.
I don't know, I mean, I know she's had a great career and done a lot and, been that kinda utility player for women's national team is just,
Yeah.
I think, super underrated. I agree with you. Technically and just her ability in so many different positions and roles is super underrated. I don't know,
Mhm.
maybe it was just Gotham, like, it didn't have the right fit for her, but, like, another NWSL team, like, you got these brand new NWSL teams. She doesn't wanna go play for, like, Boston or, like, Denver or like,
I
I'd
don't know.
take her
I
for
have
Orlando
beef.
Pride for sure. You could come play Orlando Pride. We have a chance at
I
winning
I have
some silverware.
I have beef with Gotham trading her to France. Just I feel like it was that move to Europe that gave her less
PSG, right?
opportunities. I just Crystal, Imma miss you. Imma miss her being on the pitch. I mean, talk
She's
about someone you
underrated.
could start, someone who could come in halfway through. I mean, really just is such a like, has that dog in them when it comes to soccer. And, um, just a real bummer to see her go. I hope she is very happy, but I will miss her on the pitch. I think to have someone who you can reliably have in 2/3 of a pitch, and honestly, let's be for real, I'd love, playing as a forward as well. So basically, you could put her anywhere on the field and she'd do a great job except for maybe goalkeeper. She little. It's just, yeah, I think she was poorly used the last 2 seasons of her career, and it's such a bummer to see that. Um, yeah, I know a lot of people have opinions about her husband. Um, so I hope that they can just sort of, I don't know, be happy and have a nice family. And if she ever wanted to be a coach, I would be obsessed with that. Um, so, that would be cool. But I'm always happy if players are just like, and then I'm happy being a person because I can't imagine playing a sport your entire life and then just stopping. Yeah, so she'll
Yeah.
be missed for sure. But I definitely, yeah, I think it must have been a really hard choice because I don't think skill was ever the barrier. I think
No.
genes
I mean,
are
maybe there's
just
some more going on there with injuries and stuff that we don't know
maybe
about, or just her lifestyle. Like you said, she just kind of had enough of the constant, travel of being on the road and all that. And was ready to retire. So it's a
and her
shame
son is
because
cute as
I love
hell.
watching her
So
play and I'd love to see her back in NWSL again for a couple more years at least before she retires. But it is what it is. So Crystal Dunn, that news hitting us pretty hard. Another thing that happened this week related to Gotham, they lost. They lost in their big game against the Corinthians. Not a good look for NWSL. It's supposedly supposed to be the best league in the world, and you're losing
mhm,
on the world stage to a Brazilian club. Only one. I think just a bit of sleep is the vibe I kind of got from this game. It wasn't. I think maybe too early in the preseason for Gotham. They're not quite ready,
mhm.
and just look a bit lackluster. What do you get from this game?
It looked like that pass to Savannah McCaskill was not something McCaskill was expecting. And I think
She
that
hasn't
play
gelled yet with her new team.
well, and I think it was just not the smartest move, and I think so she didn't expect it to come her way, and that I mean, I think that's the difficult thing. I mean, these players are playing at an extremely high level where I can't even imagine how fast their brains are moving. Like, my favorite is when someone asks someone, like, "What were you thinking when you, um, got that goal, and usually it's get the ball in the goal, right? Like, it's like their body takes over. They're not like, "Hmm, well, I was thinking drop it with my right foot and then I'll kick it around." No, it's like they're just acting on instinct at that point. Um, and so I think, yeah, I think it was just a mismatch of skills and experience. Um, Personally, to see Gotham lose right after winning the championship makes me tee hee hee. Sorry, Spirit. But I think it just shows you, and I'll say this probably a million more times, but every game is a new game. It's how those people show up, where they're at when the game is happening, and so much can impact. I think, yeah, sleep probably did not help. British food is terrible, so I think the best stuff they have there is stolen from other cultures, so that's got to be hard.
It's true.
You're on the plane, that sucks. Planes are awful, you're dehydrated. I don't know. I could make a lot of things, but ultimately that pass to Savannah McCaskill was bad, and it set up the Corinthians to get that one goal. There was just nothing. There was nothing to be done, and it could have gone into extra time or straight to penalties. I don't know the rules for that. CONCACAF's crazy. Um, but I think it might piss them off, and they're gonna be really speedy this first half of the season. I think that competition for more titles and hardware is really good for, like, building motivation, um, but also the Corinthians fans were so happy, so you're kind of like,
Big deal for
"We can
them.
spread the
Big
wealth,"
deal.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
we've
Hey,
won
look,
She Believes how many times?
that's what, the Club World Cup or whatever you wanna call it, that's what it is, basically. It's the winner of the Champions Leagues, right, playing each other. That's what it's about, right? You're gonna have these upsets. It's a small tournament. It's one game at a time. It's early in the season for Gotham, but what happened to them is kind of what they do to a lot of teams where they just
Mhm.
eke out that 1-0 win with like a late goal. I mean, that's what they did to Orlando Pride to go through to the final. And then that's kind of what they did to Washington Spirit as well. So
Yeah,
they have that capacity to make games tight. And then if they're not the one getting that one moment where you got to score and they leave the door open and Corinthians get it, and that's how you end up in that result. So it is what it is. But lessons learned. I think NWSL is still far above the Brazilian league. This is just one game. But I think some people look at that and say, oh, maybe the other leagues are getting a bit better and a bit stronger.
good.
Yeah,
That
which
means
is what we
money is
want, of
going
course.
to the right places, so,
That's what we
yeah, I
want.
hope I hope Corinthians gets a lot from that win. I hope they really get some money. I mean, ultimately, I know that's what benefits them the most. I hope they, um, kinda go through. It would be great to see them win everything and kind of just be like, "Oh, could you count out?" Because I if at the Snapdragon, if Brazil is playing, there is a hearty group of Brazilians who come out and support them, and I think that is something about Brazilians specifically, like, they are ride or die for their, like, national teams and for their culture, and I love it. I think it's so great, and to see another team succeed, obviously, if the Wave had gone, I'd probably feel differently, but, just to see them succeed and to have that sort of, like, I don't know, that ego boost, right? Like, you took down Gotham, you took down starting 11 of Roosevelt and Katrin Berger, Emily Sonnet, Jaden Shaw. You know what I mean? Like, you're stopping world powerhouse players. That's gotta feel good. That's gotta be like maybe one champagne in the locker room, right? Just one, just a little crazy, just a little.
Like, Brazilians are mad for their football, right? Their soccer, futebol, they don't always support the
Yeah,
women's game as much as they do the men's game, so
right.
we wanna see that, and the amount of money down there is nowhere near it,
Mhm.
right? But there are 2 or 3 big clubs. I always thought Marta was gonna go back and play for Corinthians as, like, her childhood club at some point. There's been a lot of talk about that. I know they're, like, dying to have her come retire down there, so
No,
maybe if that happens, that is a huge deal, and that accelerates Brazilian women's soccer even more. It would be good to have some stars in that league for a couple of years to boost the profile, right? And that would be awesome if she
Selfishly,
did that.
Marta should stay in the NWSL so I can see her twice a year.
Right? I mean, I don't want her to leave, but maybe
Yeah.
she goes down there
What
and
are you talking about?
coaches or something. I don't know. I know she has big connections to that club.
Yeah,
So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's talk some NWSL transfer rumors. A few things that I saw online. I don't know if any of this is true, but some
we're
little
no soccer
tidbits
Donna.
for us to ruminate on. Some
Mm,
ideas like, hey, some of these things I saw before did come true. Like there was a rumor about Emily Sams going to Angel City, and here
Delphine.
we now sit, right? Delphine, that. So sometimes there's some truth to these things. We don't know.
Oh my
Let's
god.
talk about the idea Tierna Davidson might be want to be on the move, potentially over to the West Coast. There's some rumors that she might want to go to like Angel City or San Diego Wave. What would you think of the idea of Tierna Davidson making the move?
Well, after Go Wave, my next slogan is "Let's go lesbians." So I think Tierna Davidson would be a hearty welcome. I think she would pair really well with Kennedy Wesley on the Wave in that back line. I feel less likely like she'll go to Angel City because of the Emily Sams buy, just logistically.
Yeah,
Do
and
they
they have Sarah
need
Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, and Sarah Gordon's so fantastic. S and, so, like, do they need it? But, let's not forget Bay FC. I don't know what they're doing up there, so that could be interesting, and, technically there's Portland and technically there's Seattle as part of the West Coast, so I think any of them would be really lucky to have her, and if LA gets Tierna Davidson, I think their goal is well defended. Heavily well defended. So, I don't want that. So, I would prefer if she went to another team. Boo LA.
You feel like there's room on the Wave? It makes sense that you guys would go for a center back.
Yeah, I mean, so we just lost Hannah Lundvisk, and then
Yep.
moving kind of Kristen McNabb around, she can kind of really go anywhere. Kennedy Wesley's a great center back. Trinity Armstrong, Jonas has been playing with her in center back as well as moving up to midfield and subbing in someone. So I think we have some creative space. It really would be, does her style gel with the amount of Brazilian French people we have on the team, right? Like you have to think of that. Jonas is playing a really European style and very pressy. So I don't know. She might sit well more with AFC just based on they also have a new coach because I think Montoya's out or
Yeah.
he sucked
Bay FC
anyway.
would
So
be make sense. Like they need a big like
and they
defensive
could
signing
afford
like
it.
that. That would make
And because
sense.
Didasco's out,
Like
Abby Dahlkemper's out,
I
they're both
agree with
pregnant.
you on Angel City. I think that's I don't know. Like unless they're playing three back and they want like three incredible center backs, and if they had Sarah Gordon, Emily Sams, and Tierna Davidson, that would be like the best center
And
back
Giselle
three
Thompson.
in the league by a long way. So I don't think that's I think Bay are the
Mhm.
team that makes most sense.
That's the
Could
one.
throw some money at, throw the hip player money at her, right? Maybe give her a big
Mhm.
signing, a big contract. Say, hey, come over here, be our star center back. We'll pay you
Or
big
even
money.
close to hit,
She could
right? Like,
potentially
even
qualify for
play.
that. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting, but there's a rumor out there, so we'll see. The other
What
one,
is it about Gotham that makes people leave? What are you doing, Juan Carlos?
Gary, tell us what's wrong with Gotham.
Gary, come back. Come back and
um,
talk to me.
Another
He was right
rumor.
about McCaskill getting the starting though, so
He was, see? Gary knows
he
his stuff.
knows. He knows so much
Um,
more than we do.
Another rumor, this one also around the San Diego Wave, and one that you've talked about as, in passing, but is a real rumor that's out there, is Kat Macario coming to NWSL. The big club that she's been talked about going to is San Diego Wave. I mean, surely, Alyssa, you would lose your SHIT, right?
I Okay, so the same as Delphine leaving, I cried. If Cat comes, I'll cry, and I
Oh,
will
yeah.
forgive them for
Instant
Delphine.
tears.
Yeah, I'll forgive them. I'll let the French thing go. I'll delete Delphine Cascarino's name from my mind if we get Cat Macario. She's from San Diego. She's also Brazilian. People forget that. She's
Yeah.
Brazilian,
Yeah.
chose to play for the USA, and I think she could gel really well with the other Brazilians that we have hired in our front line. Ludmilla, Durinha, and then the French sort of midfield takeover. I think it would be delicious. I think she'd fit in really wonderfully. Um, I don't know. I mean, but then I also could see
Again, you
any
could
of the
throw
other.
the high impact player rule money at her, right? Definitely would
Yeah,
qualify.
and you have to think, I mean, we let Delphine go on a free, but I think we have some money in there that we're not talking about. And I do low key wish that all the financial stuff was like nonprofits where it had to be public. Because I think that would be equitable. I don't think it's fair that, like, I know they can't get in trouble for like talking about your wage at work, but I think obviously in sports, people are going to feel a way about that. And I think it should all be public information, but it's a private business, so they won't do that. But I would love to know. Um, yeah, I would just love to know what we're working with financially. I could also see Seattle making a money move. I think that could be really fun. Though Laura Harvey said she's letting AI decide her lineup, so I'm not sure. I hope that was a joke. But I have autism, so
But
I'll never know.
let's not go into that. Gosh.
It's so bad.
Oh, that
So
was terrible news.
I think it'd be iconic. I think the fan base would really rally around her as well. I think in terms of marketing, I feel like San Diego knows how to market their players really nicely. I think it could be a great welcome home from San Diego to Cat Macario. That's my fantasy. That's like
It could
you guys play fantasy football, I play fantasy player trades.
fantasy player trade, like, it could happen in the summer. Is she out of contract with Chelsea in the summer? Is that why the
Yeah,
rumors
she's
are so
free.
heavy? I mean, in the summer, she could be on a free, and that's exactly when the high impact player rule comes in. So I expect a lot of these kind of transfers to happen in the summer, really,
Yeah,
when other teams in the league know 100% this is what, because it's still the high impact player rule is still under debate, right? It hasn't been it
it's
hasn't really
literally
been
being sued.
accepted by the NWSLPA, so it could change between now and the
Yeah,
summer. Rodman's going to get paid regardless, but other teams
love
might
that
be
for
more
her.
cautious as to say, I don't know if I want to spend this money until we know what this rule really looks like and it's, solidified and it actually comes into effect in the summer. So I
And
think Cat is one for you guys that you could go after in the summer for sure.
I mean, the bonus of a mid-season transfer is you're done with your season, you can go to the mid-season and you can kind of see where everyone's at. And if, San Diego's not looking so hot, maybe some other offers would come in. Not that I want that to happen, but
I
I'm
mean,
just saying.
everybody's got to give Cat an offer, surely.
Yeah, and I think, for her, if I'm thinking about like player growth and joy and stuff, which obviously is also very important to me, I want her to get paid fairly. I want her to be seen for the baller that she is. So Cat Macario and the owners of the Wave come to an agreement, sign our girl, bring her home. We're
I
basically,
mean,
it's San Diego, her home, and it's a lot of Brazilians. And Dudinha needs to practice her English because she said she doesn't speak English very well. This would be perfect. What a multicultural cross exchange.
I don't like this San Diego Wave trying to do all the Brazilians thing. That's the Orlando Pride's gig. So I don't. You're trying to steal
Marta,
our
come to
vibe.
San Diego.
That's the ultimate betrayal.
Oh my
She will
gosh.
never. She won't leave us.
No, I think she
Uh,
loves Orlando a lot. I think
she
she's really,
does.
I think it's so rare to see a player like lock in like that. But I think she's seeing now the riches of her choices. And I think that makes me happy for her, even if it's for another team.
Speaking of Brazilians, another one might be on the way to NWSL. Here's a rumor about Amanda Gutierrez, who might be going to join Boston Legacy as their kind of like big number 9 piece up front that they would go and spend a lot of money on. Of course, Gutierrez with the Brazilian national team. We've seen what
Hmm.
she can do. I think a very good player. This would be a big signing for Boston. Any thoughts on this one, Alyssa?
I'm just glad we know who Boston's signing because we
Got
were
some
just talking
news.
about
We
before
got some news.
we were filming that I was like, I feel like everyone's going to Denver. And I have no idea who's at Boston. I can't even the gooses, the geese, the swans, I don't know what their names are. She's got the
The
hiccups, oh my gosh.
legacy.
Sure. Sure, John. Whatever you and the Bostonians say, like Gary said, "Boo." Um, I think I'm excited, but I am curious, do you feel a way about everyone realizing how good Brazilian players are after the Orlando Pride has committed so heavily? I mean, do you guys have, like, a phone call with the GM of the Brazil national team, or, like, did someone
I think
leak your
I
contact?
think Marta's got them on, speed dial or something. But yeah, we went heavy. Like it was Haley Carter really that brought in a lot of our Brazilians. We had a few, but she added in more. And so it's been good. I think they have a lot of positives to their game. But
Mhm.
they're also right. Not always like we don't have enough, right? There's not enough quality Brazilians. I think there's the ones that play for the US national team. I'm sorry, the Brazilian national team. Then outside of
Yeah,
that,
sorry.
it's not the level isn't quite there. So yes, there
Yeah.
are a lot of good Brazilians, but there's only a certain amount of them, right? And I think
It feels
most of them are in NWSL now.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of great individual talent, and I don't know if that's the Brazilian focus on ball handling, right? Like, on the ball, and you can see it influence players like Mel Barcenas, who plays for the Wave, but also plays for the US youth national team. And you can see she was saying that her inspiration was like Marta and the way that she plays on the ball, and the same with Jaden Shaw playing futsal and stuff like that. And so I'm curious if they're sort of lacking like a team element, right? Like everyone coming up together. Whereas like I feel like on the US women's national team, and this is just my experience, I'd love to hear from other people who are more studied on other national teams. But I just wonder if like that's a club focus, a mentality thing, because then you could bring in a striker, right, like Ludmilla or, um, Amanda, and really see them make a big change, but does that translate across defenders and midfielders as well? And so I think certainly an interesting trend that we've noticed, you saw it sort of happen by Rabanda's season as well. Everyone decided to sign a bunch of African players, and then, like, Asisat Oshuala was like, "I'm out of here." So
You
yeah,
get
I think
waves of different players coming in.
yeah, but it's exciting to see them come from so many different countries, right? Like we have the Paraguay player at the Spirit. Now we're seeing more Brazilian players, Colombian players. I think just that sort of international rise in player quality is just it's so nice to see, and to see them come places where you know, they're being paid what they're worth or much more fairly and getting those opportunities and getting those minutes. I think girls who are gonna, the women who are gonna start on Boston and Denver, I mean, it's kind of also like an international audition, right? Like for all the other teams in the world, if you get those minutes and you're part of a successful foundational expansion, you could be going places, right? Like you could really it may not work for you for more than a year, but that could be the year that someone at Chelsea sees you or someone at Arsenal or, all these other teams. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see if Boston can lock it down. Now, I would say weather-wise, do you want to live in Boston if you're a Brazilian? No, you do not. Sorry. Bad locale choice.
Well, let's see if Gutierrez lands in Boston. We are going to move into our club focuses now. We have been doing 4 teams per episode. So if you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, go back and watch episode 1, where we talk about like the big 4 teams in NWSL. That episode 2 was the next part of the table. As we get further down the table, we're moving into teams that were kind of on the edge of the playoffs. Here, we're going to start with Angel City. Of course, Emily Sams coming in is huge. They had a record of 7-6-13 last year. The retirement of Christopher Press, Ali Riley, really wasn't that long ago. Alyssa Thompson leaving. They're in a real kind of new phase of Angel City, and they're moving into a new era. Obviously, Alexander Strauss is going to now have a full preseason and have real time to put his systems into the squad in preseason. They've got a couple new signings off of from draftees, not draftees, but you know what I mean. From
Hmm.
college, we've got Taylor Suarez and we've got Karina Laguerre coming in as well. Any thoughts on Angel City? I know, Alyssa, you're not a big fan. These are your enemies. But
Mortal
they've made
enemies.
some signings. I mean, Ari Borges, they've done a lot here to try and improve their squad. What do you think? Are they going to rise or are they going to fall?
Fall.
Straight falls. She's got no
Mhm.
time. what's
Sorry,
your what's your
emotions.
argument outside of just hatred of Angel City?
Oh, I think that's enough. That's my argument, is they're from LA.
When do you
They
guys
must fall.
play them? May 9th. I see that. The SoCal rivalry is May 9th. Are you
And
excited? You
it
ready
is
for that?
what I do love about it is both sides show up. So, like, the Sirens, who's our supporter group in San Diego, they go up to LA, they do, like, a big bus, they rent it, they take people up, we have a whole section, and LA equally, they really come down, so I think it's so fun, it feels as close to what I think is the top rivalry in the NWSL, right, which is Seattle and Portland. I mean, that's, like, iconic, and I think the San Diego, LA one, if you make it through traffic, I just had to go to LA yesterday and we were there for an hour for something, and it took us 2.5 hours to get there and 4 hours to leave. So if you survive LA and getting out of it and getting into it, it really is, I think, such a wonderful experience to see the rivalry and like the teams care. But yeah, they're gonna fall this season. They will not be making anything and they will not do better than the wave.
Okay. All right.
And I don't need to have real reasons
These are
because
just how
I'm
you
from San
feel.
Diego, and
That's
that's good
fine.
enough.
I'll accept that.
Thank you so much.
I have my irrational hatred towards Casey Current, so just always I vote
Well,
against them.
it's hard when these teams are so good and you watch them and they know they're good, right? Like Lil Lamonta, I think if she did a Selly on my team the way that she's done to Orlando, I
Love
think
to
I
hate her.
too. Yeah, right? Like but that's like the fun of
Love to love her,
sports.
love to hate her.
And the same way, if Marta talked the same amount of crap that she did to Kansas City as she did to, then I get it why people feel a type of
Yeah.
way, and I love it.
Um, in terms of Angel City,
Mm,
look, they signed Emily Sams. I gotta back my girl. I gotta back them.
Miss
I think
Loyalty.
I think that they're gonna get better. I still have the San Diego Wave. Like we're gonna do our preseason predictions at some point, and I will
We're number
still
1.
predict San Diego Wave above them. So don't get it twisted. But I do think they're gonna be in the playoffs. I do think they'll be a top 8 team. I think that they're gonna show improvement. I don't know if they're gonna be good enough to be a top team in NWSL, but I think
Mm,
they will push themselves into the conversation to say, "Hey, we're here. Look at us." You know, Emily Sam's alone in the back line, I think, is going to make them defensively more solid. They win a few more
no,
games than
probably
they do
like
last
14th or
year,
15th.
right? They win a few more games. Giselle Thompson even better. Kendi Fuller even better. I can
Riley
see them
Tiernan.
improving, but I do
Wait,
respect
is that
your blind hatred.
did I pick the wrong Riley? What's the
What?
Riley on my leg?
Yeah, I don't know. I
Tiernan?
get confused with all the sisters sometimes.
Anyway, but she is really outstanding. The blonde Riley.
The blonde, the
The blonde.
blonde Riley.
I know,
Uh,
I just don't have it up in front of me. I'm sorry, guys. But it's LA, so I'm
you're
not really that
good.
sorry.
All right, let's talk North Carolina. Alyssa, you want to lead us off with your initial thoughts, rise or fall for North Carolina?
North Carolina has so much change. I have to say that they're going to fall. I feel like this is going to be a big learning curve for them. Now, I think if they keep Kaylin Sheridan, they really have an opportunity to build around that and to be as good as they were when they had Lynn Williams and Sam Mewis. But I think they got to build it up. I don't know what the new coach is going to do with Sean Nahas being fired is sort of crazy, but you can't scream at players anymore. And I know that
I
Sean
never liked
Nahas
Sean Nahas, really.
is prone to screaming.
Yeah, he's very sleepy,
Um,
man.
I know people who have played under the Nahas brothers and that Sean is not the level-headed one, and I just don't think I mean, we saw it in the way that they fumbled Jaden Shaw, fumbled her right into Gotham's hands, where she is now outstanding, and she's always outstanding, but they really I think they had an opportunity, and they missed it, and I don't think they're gonna recover this year. I sorry. And they blocked Alex Morgan's PK when she retired, and I've never forgiven them. So,
You're on the list, North Carolina Courage.
I got field seats for that game, we were gifted them, which was an amazing experience. I was at the goal line where Alex was taking her PK at the 12th minute before she retired a minute later, and Casey Murphy had the audacity to block that PK, and
How
I said,
dare you,
"Girl,
Casey Murphy?
you didn't need to do that. You didn't need to do all that. You coulda just let her have the goal.
Uh,
You coulda just let her have it."
of
What
course,
happened to chivalry?
North Carolina, as well as, making Alyssa upset, they've also let go of Denise O'Sullivan. So that's, part of this big change. Mac Lind is now the official coach. So we're going to see what happens there after Nathan Thackeray has been, the interim in the meantime. So they've got some players going on. You've got Riley Jackson, Ashley Sanchez coming back again. Probably going to have better improved years. Of course, Kaylin Sheridan, like you talked about. I tend to agree. I think there's a lot of big pieces that they're missing, and
Yeah,
so to reload, and they were kind of a seventh, eighth, ninth level right before. They weren't pushing to be a top team as much as we hear a lot of hype about them at times. I think North
yeah,
Carolina, there's like a lot of talk about under Shore Nahas. Oh, look at this team and what they did. But recently it's been kind of average from them, I think.
yeah,
And so I suspect this is going to be a struggle for them to kind of even maintain. Like we talked about, so many teams that are going to improve and get better, and all the teams we talked about, if they're going to be in that sort of 1 to 8 range, are North Carolina able to actually push into the playoffs when you've got the likes of SD Wave and Thorns and Seattle, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm with you. I think they're probably going to regress a little bit. I don't see them making the playoffs this year. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the Houston Dash. The Houston Dash,
oh,
of
Houston.
course. Head coach Fabrice Gautra. They've made some offseason moves, but Louisa, Alyssa. What did I get Louisa from?
You're just thinking about my goalkeeper.
I'm thinking about names now. There's so many names in my head. Alyssa,
Yeah, we did
tell
cover a
us.
lot of names today.
Yeah, there's so many names. What's your vibe on the Houston Dash? They finished 10th last year. Can they improve, or do you think they're gonna fall?
I think they can improve. I don't see them breaking the 8, so sorry, the Houston Dash. I'm happy for them to prove me wrong. But I think similar to North Carolina, they're in this sort of rebuild, figuring it out. And I think, right, like obviously they had some issues with their coach going on FMLA last year for mysterious reasons. And that's because he got it legally protected. But I have a feeling it was not, good. Yeah, I think they just have to figure themselves out truly. And I think it's taking them a bit of time. I think Yasmin Ryan is so amazing. So, like, she can do anything. And I think she really has been such an impact player for them. But I think, yeah, I think between them and the Courage, they're really, if they're anywhere between 7 to 10, because there's 16 teams now, let's remember how big I think being somewhere in that middle is really good. And I think they would be really proud if they made it to 7 or 8, but that really 8, 9, 10 is looking like the bracket they're going to be in.
Yeah, I
So I
mean,
think slight improvement, but I don't think they're going to be like top 8, and they're definitely not top 4.
I agree. I mean, I see them and North Carolina kind of battling for those like ninth, 10th places, trying to get that 8th place in the playoffs, but
Hmm.
probably not getting there. A similar kind of season for them. Like they lost Michelle Alozzi, they lost Katie Lynn, they lost Chloe
Yeah.
Ricketts. They managed to keep Jane Campbell and Yasmin Ryan, Avery Patterson. They've got some injuries on the SCI list for Sochi Schmidt and
I
Maggie
forgot
Graham
about Avery Patterson.
straight
Yeah, she's
away.
good too.
They've added in a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
They've added in some players out of college. So is this going to be enough for them? Are they going to improve? I think it's hard to say with Houston Dash. I have there was
Yeah.
like the first half of the last year, they looked really not great at all. And then the second half, they pushed on and they had some good performances and they beat some of the
Mhm.
top teams in the league. So if they can continue that into the new year, then they could definitely push themselves into the playoffs conversation. But I fear it's about consistency with them. They just have periods of the
Yes.
year where they look like a bottom end team, and you can't do that and still, the NWSL, like we said, has become so competitive. You've added in
Mhm.
teams as well. It's getting harder and harder to make that playoff mix. You can't be average and still make the playoffs anymore. I think you really have to be one of the better teams. You have to get a certain amount of wins throughout the year. You can't just coast on draws throughout the year and still make the playoffs. And I feel like Houston Dash are a very draw heavy team. They're not a team that goes out and sees a lot of wins, especially at home.
Mm.
They don't do a lot of winning at home. So they need to improve that. I do have faith in Fabrice Cottrell. I think he's a good coach. They just need to show some improvement, really. Let's see if this roster can do a little better than last year's roster. And finally, let's end with the Utah Royals. Of course, a team that is still pretty new to the league, a returning team. There's a whole thing
Mhm.
there we go into. But they've made some moves. They got Miura from Washington Spirit. Uh, Not a huge amount going on. Honestly, I think they're a team that, yes, does have some talents, but compared to other NWSL rosters, there's just not enough for me. And they're a team that hasn't made the playoffs in their first 2 years. So I think the real question is, rise or fall, but are they even going to make the playoffs? Or is the rich getting richer and this, just not enough from the Utah Royals? What do you think, Alyssa?
I think the Utah Royals struggle from not just the rich getting richer, which is obviously right, like Gotham's the perfect example of like these teams kind of just balling out and going ham. I also think they have a culture problem there, right? You have to look at Utah, and it is a predominantly white area. And so you're not bringing a lot of diverse talent there. And then you have talent that are there or have been there and, have to quit because they are going to, um, have suicidal ideations. So I think the reason that Utah is not doing so hot is not just the players, right? Like, and having the resources and stuff, but I think there is a huge FO problem. And that's coming from someone with a huge FO problem, right? Like, Jill Ellis used to be here. I know what it's like. Okay. We're in the midst of lawsuits. And I think Utah just hasn't figured out how to draw players to their area, and I don't think they're gonna figure that out this year, and I don't see them this is sad, but I just see a lot of people kept being like, "Oh, well, at least you beat Utah," right? Like, when you were playing, you were like, "Chicago was sort of 50-50 every game, what was gonna happen?" Obviously, not if you scored on them first, but, like, every time you played Utah, I'd be like, "Well, at least I know we're gonna win this game." And I think,
It's a gimme.
unfortunately, I think a lot of people are kind of banking on that. They also just lost Pogarch to Europe, who, was one of their defending wingers, and I think that we're just gonna see them really struggle up against, some of these other teams who have made some really wonderful offseason moves, especially in terms of new teams. I mean, Denver. I mean, their roster looks really hefty and nice, and they just signed, like, 2 more people too, so Unfortunately, Utah, I see number 16 for them.
Ooh,
Follow I
yeah.
That's a sneak peek at my,
No, I mean,
ranking,
you're
but
not.
I just
I think you could be right. I
why do you
think the
wanna go
problem is
there
when you join the league and you have not made a splash, you're in the bottom of the pan, right? You're the one of the lowest of the lows, and so in at that point, you have the cushion of like, okay, we can improve. But when you've add 2 new teams in that potentially could be better than you, the
in
capacity
better
this year
location?
for Utah Royals is the capacity is to get worse. And I agree, there's front office problems. I think they're not spending enough money, but there are NWSL teams that run on a very tight budget, and it seems to me like Utah Royals are one of those. I mean, yes, they have some players, they've made some signings, they've done some moves, but none of them are really major moves. I think
Flashy.
they've signed any players that are going to move the needle to really improve them from where they've been the last few seasons. So, yeah, you add in Boston and Denver, especially Denver, who I think will look more competitive. It's
Mhm.
going to get hard to even get close to the playoffs. And then you're talking, are we going to end up a wooden spoon team? Are we going to end up 16th? I mean, I think there's a few others that could be in the mix. Like, we'll talk about Chicago and maybe Boston as
Mhm.
a new team, maybe Denver as a new team. It can happen as a new team. You can have that horrible first year, but I feel like Utah had that horrible first year, then they had a horrible second year, and now it's a question of like, are you ever going to get any better, or are you going to actually just continuously, produce low end positions? So sorry if you're a Utah Royals fan, but I'm not feeling hopeful for you. And I think,
Mm-mm.
yeah, probably between that 14th to 16th range. So I think fall for them. Yeah.
Bottom of the bucket.
Oh dear. Sorry, Utah Royals fans, but
You know what, though? They
them's
could
the
at least, if
breaks.
you're not paying for players, buy a sports psychologist.
Do something so that there's some good.
Something.
We need some positive news coming out of Utah, guys.
Yeah, anything, Utah,
Bring us
come
some
on.
vibes, please. We got a lot of Japanese players. I like that. That's exciting. I
Yeah,
like
I'm so
Japanese
curious
players.
what their experience is like with the culture around.
Yeah, that's a culture clash, right? From Japan to
Yeah,
Utah?
but there's a
Gotta be.
couple of them there, and so I'm just so curious, like, do they just rely on an internal community, or is there a secret Japanese community in Utah I just don't know about? And yeah, I'm really interested. I think
Who knows?
obviously Utah is just not a great place to be by choice as a BIPOC person, or as a queer person. And then if you have the intersection of those two, the draw just isn't there for your safety. But Denver is, very left. Boston has racist people too, but like is still like a major city, right? So like Washington, DC, there's just like a lot of places that have much more draw and much more diverse communities. I just think Utah, unfortunately, Salt Lake City is just
Very
Mormon.
white. Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to go there.
Is that gonna be a rivalry between them and Denver? Do we feel like that's gonna be like, are we forcing that, or is that geographically
That's
enough
forced.
for them?
No way.
Like, there's
I
no
don't think
other
anyone has.
teams in that part of the nation, right? So,
I think Denver is going to join a rivalry triangle with San Diego and LA.
I mean, they're closer, right? In some ways.
Yeah, I think it's going to
I'm
be
just
like
thinking like
a.
mountain rivalry between Utah and Denver.
I think if that happens, Utah should thank their lucky stars because I just don't see them. I think part of it is that LA and San Diego also, like, you never know who's gonna win when we play, or the same with, like, Seattle and Portland, they're, I feel like, very evenly matched, and I think that's what same with, like, Kansas City and Orlando, the 3 rivalries I genuinely believe in, is that the teams being well matched is a key part of it, and I think Denver should hope that they're not matched to Utah, and Utah would be lucky if they can match Denver. Just seeing what Denver's bringing in,
Yeah. Of
and they
course,
play in higher altitude, which I think makes them bionic.
he gives them that extra power. Next week, of course,
think
we're going
so.
to do our final four club reviews. So we will talk about Denver. We'll talk about Boston. We'll talk about Chicago. Who am I missing? Who have we not discussed? I'm blanking now.
Did we do Louisville?
We did Louisville. Bay FC. We
BFC.
haven't done Bay. So those are the four teams remaining that we will focus on next
What did I
week.
say?
Thank you all for listening to this episode of NWSL United. If you've not done so, please go ahead and drop a like on the episode if you can. Tell your friends who are NWSL fans if they're interested in a podcast made by fans of NWSL fans for the NWSL fans. This is the
Hmm.
place. I want to thank Alyssa, as always, for being here and talking with me. Sorry that this episode is coming out a little later this week. I was kind of sick earlier in the week. So we're a little bit delayed, but we will always try to have an episode for you guys once a week. And as we get into the off season, out of the off season and into the preseason, things are happening. We're going to talk Coachella, of course, that's coming. We're going to talk the jersey reveals, preseason previews of all these teams, predictions of the NWSL table, all that fun stuff. So I'm excited, Liz. I can't wait for this NWSL season to
Me
start.
too. Is it March yet?
Is it March yet? All
Only
right,
one more
y'all. And
month.
as always, we'll see you next time.